Obesity is a really big problem that we currently have. The rates of obesity have increased a lot over the last decade or so. 20% of children are currently considered obese, which is greater than the 85th percentile for their body mass index. Your body mass index is just a function of your weight versus your height. And so when we're doing a checkup in the office after age 2, we start paying attention to the body mass index. And if your body mass index is the 85th percentile or higher, we consider that to be an unhealthy range. So 20% of kids are already at the 85th percentile or greater, and then even above that, another 15% of those are what we consider to be very obese, greater than the 95th percentile of their body mass index. So when I have a child that we recognize as being overweight, we try to recognize that as early as possible. And sometimes all it takes is for me to just make a mention that your child's body mass index is a little higher than where we'd like it to be. It's in an unhealthy range right now, and just making a suggestion of some dietary changes is all that it takes for a parent to help bring that back down again. Now, the idea that weight loss has to be associated with any sort of change in your body mass index is because in adults, we're not getting any taller. And so because we're not getting any taller, our only means of changing our body mass index is to decrease our weight. Kids I can't emphasize how lucky we are if we can address that early. In a growing child, they're going to continue to get taller. And so if we can get them to get taller faster than gaining weight, then their body mass index starts to drop. So we can take advantage of the fact that they're getting taller. And so generally speaking, we don't talk about weight loss. Most pediatricians don't like to see kids lose weight because it generally means that there's a problem. So the other things that I generally go with are the tips that are recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics, and they're really easy to remember because they're based on numbers 5, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So I start off with talking about 5 servings of a fruit or vegetable daily, as one of the options. The 3 is 3 meals daily, preferably home prepared meals. In other words, I really try to encourage parents to reduce eating out, fast foods and that sort of stuff. The 2 stands for less than 2 hours of screen time per day. In other words, TVs, video games, game consoles, iPads, iPhones, anything that has a screen and an off and on switch. We usually try to keep them less than 2 hours per day. The 1 is for 1 hour of physical activity a day, and physical activity doesn't need to be go out and run 5 miles for an hour. An hour of physical activity is just getting on your feet and staying on your feet and moving. They can be hula hooping, they could be running outside and playing, they could be on a trampoline, swing set, or whatever, just getting moving. And then the 0 is probably the one that I emphasize the most because I think, especially in young children, makes the biggest impact, and that's almost 0 sugar-sweetened beverages in their diet. So one of the things that parents are real excited about is when their little baby starts getting into something besides just breastfeeding or formula feeding, and we start introducing the cup. And it's especially grandparents that are very excited about this too, about introducing juice. So I get asked all the time, when do I introduce juice? When do I introduce juice? And my answer is actually, I don't like juice. Juice doesn't serve a purpose. It's empty calories that are not good growing calories. It's basically just sugar, water, and a few vitamins in there, which generally you can get those vitamins from other food sources. So I actively discourage parents from even introducing juice. I prefer for there to be water in a cup. So juices, sodas, I get a lot of kids that drink Gatorade and Powerade, and those are extremely high amounts of sugar in those drinks. My preference for kids who have a concern about their body mass index, I specifically recommend either water. I'll count flavored water as water as well. So anything that you go to the store and you look at the label and it says 0 or very few calories, Crystal Light, Mio, things that you can add to water just to make it more interesting, because I get a lot of parents that feel like, oh, my kids don't like to drink water. Well, water's boring, and I actually have to agree that water is boring, and so souping it up a little bit with something that's 0 calories is perfectly fine in my opinion. So those are the things that I try to focus on when we're talking about managing body mass index.